So today we have a 2014 Ford Focus. It's here for a couple of problems. One of them is this inherent static that comes over the radio occasionally. Don't know if it's going to do it. The radio isn't even on. There it is. Nice. The radio isn't even on. Turn the radio off. Nice. The other problem they mentioned is that when they fill it with gas, they can't start it after. It's like it's flooded. So it's probably got a canister purge solenoid problem. When I went to bring it in, it's been sitting for a couple of days. The battery was stone dead and I couldn't start it with the booster pack that they had. I had to use a booster battery to start it. It appears to be charging, according to the voltage on the charger here. It's charging at 14.6, so let's put a scan tool on it and see what's going on with codes. So this is a new vehicle. I've never scanned it before. So if the battery truly went dead, it may have erased the codes. It doesn't support automatic ID. It should. 2-liter L4 direct injected. Let's do a network code scan. Key on, not running. So I've got the key on with a battery charger on it, clean battery charger. So let's see, you can hear that radio static going on, battery voltage below threshold. Lots of low voltage codes, battery voltage, front wiper motor circuit below voltage, battery voltage, internal control module software incompatibility. Now, if it's got a dead battery, $14.50, that's an EVAP code. Listen to that stupid radio doing that. That's weird. No engine codes up here, yet on the OBD2 side of things, we've got a P1450. That's strange. Let's check the engine just for the hell of it. Codes. Memory codes. That's interesting. Yet on the OBD2 side of things it had P1450. Well, I'm going to do some research, see if I can find out what's causing this static noise. Let's clear all codes. Okay, 14 modules. I'm going to turn the key off. So I shut the key off. Well, I'm going to do some research. So here's a case on Identifix. This one here was intermittently rear speakers make a popping noise even when sitting still, and they ended up changing the audio control module. This is not rear speakers. It seems to be all the speakers to me, but it's hard to tell because it's so loud. But that doesn't explain why the battery went dead, so there might be a parasitic draw on this thing as well. customer had a booster pack in the vehicle. They didn't mention that the battery was going dead, but they may have said something and I didn't hear them. I'm going to talk to the customer and see if I can get a little bit more information. So just got off the phone with the customer, and they said that this radio problem has gotten worse in the last month or so. And it's actually sitting here with the key on the seat right now, and occasionally it makes static from the radio, and yet the key is not even on. I scanned it, and I still have communication with 8 controllers. So there's still something staying alive, and that's probably normal for up to half an hour. I think I'm going to approach this by checking for a parasitic draw and see if one of those modules, like the radio, is not going to sleep, and that's what's causing this issue. So I put a disconnect switch in across the positive battery cable. Normally it'd go on the negative, but it's difficult to get to, so I chose the positive. I started the vehicle with the disconnect switch on, ran it, shut it off, took the key out of the ignition, keys on the roof, opened the disconnect switch with the ammeter in parallel across the switch. So now we have 380 milliamps, 0.38 amps, and we have to wait. It's 6 minutes after 1. We have to wait and see if things will go to sleep. So after 10 minutes there was a burst of static from the radio speakers. You've seen a spike up to about 1.5 amps, and now the draw has dropped down to, according to this, 10 milliamps. So when the radio went to sleep, or whatever happened there when the network went to sleep, we got a spike. Now is that related to the network going to sleep and the module responding to a message, or is it an actual fault in the radio? Now there's no parasitic draw. I'm going to let it sit here. I'm checking into that canister purge solenoid. I'm going to let it sit here and see if it comes back online. So it's been about 30 minutes now, and the draw hasn't come back, and ever since the radio made that last burst of static at about 10 minutes, it's been good. I was looking at the canister purge solenoid because that's most likely stuck open or leaking, and there it is there at the back of the cylinder head, just below the high pressure fuel pump. There's a connector at the back, so I'm going to reconnect this switch so that I can now start the vehicle, and I'm going to check for a vacuum on that hose. So with the engine idling, I've got vacuum on that purge solenoid, so I'm going to unplug it electrically in case it's being commanded on. If I can get this connector off. I got to put this down. So there's with the solenoid unplugged, and I've got beautiful engine vacuum on it, so it's purging all the time, and it shouldn't be. So it needs a purge solenoid, which is pretty common. Checked with the dealer, it's actually cheaper at the dealer. So I've temporarily removed fuse 79, which is the battery feed fuse to the audio control module, which I would call a radio. There's the audio control module, there's the front control interface module, which is the buttons on the dash, and then there's the front control display interface module. So obviously with the audio module disabled, there's no static from the speakers anymore. So I'm going to try a previously enjoyed audio control module if I can find one. That seems to be a common failure item, not necessarily like this, but for other things. And I've got a purge solenoid, or vapor management valve as Ford refers to it, coming from the dealer, and that's going to be a couple days. So I'm going to put this on trickle charge overnight just to bring the battery back up. So there's the new canister purge solenoid, or vapor management valve. It's like $42 from the dealer. Comes with the bracket and the line. The new aftermarket one doesn't come with the bracket, so it may be easier to take it off the bracket and leave the bracket in there, but we're going to have a look at it because that's the valve right down there. I got it disconnected at that end already. So it does come with the steel bracket, but it's just pushed on here with a little rubber clip because this solenoid makes a noise when it's duty cycled, so they put it on a rubber insulator. So we're just going to pry that off of there and leave the bracket on the engine. These clips, pop the green clip down and then push in on this clip, focus, and it releases it. But you have to pop this part down. Now in the vehicle you'll likely lose that piece, but it comes with a new clip, so we're fortunate. So let's put it in. So that wasn't too bad. Like I said, push down on these little release tabs here on the outside. If you pop that clip off, it doesn't matter, we're going to get a new one. And then push down on this center green tab and pry the fitting off. Now it does go up against the upper rad hose here, but you can flex it enough to get it out of there. And make sure it goes below that little coolant tube, and pay attention to any other clips and brackets. Now I've got the vacuum gauge hooked up to it, and I'm going to start it up, and it should not be passing vacuum through it like the old one was. So as you can see now, no vacuum on that solenoid, so it's not leaking. The only time that solenoid is going to open is when it's duty cycled by the PCM to vent the canister. So once you snap that line on, it just pushes on and clicks. Just snap this back in like that. That's it. Now the reason why it causes the problem starting after a refueling event is because normally that solenoid is blocking flow to the intake manifold. So during a refueling event, there's a positive pressure being forced into the fuel tank, and that forces fumes from the charcoal canister up through the purge solenoid and directly into the intake manifold. So it becomes very rich, and when you go to restart it, it'll act like it's flooded. In some cases you have to put it in clear flood mode. I just did the exact same type of repair on a Mitsubishi just a couple weeks ago. So that should be fixed. Now on to the radio. So for the static in the radio, I believe that this control head is causing this. They call this an audio control module. So I've got a previously enjoyed one from the same vehicle, and we're going to remove the dash face and install this and reinstall that fuse. Looks like there's a clip broken right here. Yeah, that's part of the trim. I believe that dash face just pops off. So there are two T25 screws up from the bottom here. Those need to be removed first, and then the dash is clipped in with 4 clips on the side. So let's get them out. So I have this handy little angled screwdriver here, or angled, get it in there. Right there. Now you could put it in drive, get the gear shift lever out of the way, but this little ratchet that I bought works pretty slick for removing screws at a tight spot like that. Now you need some kind of plastic pry tool, which I had here a minute ago. At least I thought I did. Where is it? So basically just lift up from the bottom and pry out on the sides, and that should come out. I don't think there's any screws up here in the top. This should come out of here. So you can pull up gently on the bottom. There's 4 clips you can see on either side of this thing, and then it's clipped in the top too at the top here. So you pull up on it and pull gently straight out, and there's the actual radio. So now it's, oh, and then unplug this connector. There's a lock tab. Just release the lock tab and unplug the control panel connector, and then we take out these 2 T25 screws and the radio comes out. 3 connectors on the back of the radio. Release tab, and this antenna connector has a small white release tab right there. Push on it gently and pull, and the radio is ready to be swapped in. Well, there's the radio playing again. Let's get rid of the music so we don't get YouTube blocked. Let's see. Yeah, seems to be working fine. I haven't heard any static yet, but the static would happen even with the radio off, even with the key out of the ignition. You just get a burst of static every so often, and it was quite loud. It seemed to be coming from all the front speakers. Well, we're going to go ahead and put the screws back in this faceplate, and maybe I'll start it and run it while I'm doing that and see if it acts up. So as a follow-up, we're going to do a network code clear, because I'm sure we generated some fault codes by having that disconnected and pulling that fuse for the radio. So I'm just going to clear all codes, read by code scan. That way we know that there's no codes in any control modules when it leaves here, and if it comes back for any future concerns, we've got a clean slate to work from. Radio's been playing for 20 minutes and no static, no noises. So we're going to call this one fixed. Thanks for watching.